There are no computers. Architecture and Ideals is meeting at 6. From the spacious SCI-Arc studios, which are deep within the hustle and bustle of the SCI-Arc campus, which is on the other side of beautiful downtown Santa Monica. We'll be coming to you every Wednesday at 12 p.m. with the facts and farce from SCI-Arc. There have been some changes in some of the seminars. Computer and architecture has been dropped because there are no computers. Architecture and Ideals is meeting at 6 to 8 on Mondays instead of 10 to 12 Monday morning. Humanistic Design meets at 10 to 12 Monday morning. The drop deadline is January the 27th. If you drop after that date, you can get a W. To drop or add a class, indicate change on the clipboard found in the library. Also, one must fill out a drop sheet and change enrollment sheet found in the library. The machine makes change, the Xerox machine makes change. Please do not ask Anne, as she is immune to that question. SCI-Arc students are eligible for federally insured loans. Copies of the letter informing SCI-Arc of its acceptance into this federal program are available from the front desk. The code number indicated on the above-mentioned letter is used on the forms at your local bank. The loan number doesn't necessarily guarantee that your bank will grant you a loan. This depends on the bank's lending policy. However, it will be considerably easier to obtain a loan for tuition. For more information, contact Jeff at the front desk.
The SCI-Arc Library will be open on Monday and Thursday evenings from 9 p.m. and on Saturday from noon to 5 p.m. Also, please remember that there is a 2-day limit on all books checked out of the library, or you spend 2 hours locked in a SCI-Arc bathroom.
Where's the sign?
Oh, 2 hours in the SCI-Arc bathroom.
The library will be open Tuesday and Thursday evenings until 9 p.m. The library will be open on Saturday from noon to 5 p.m. These are the Rolodex files. All student and faculty telephone numbers can be found in the Rolodex files. These files are available 24 hours a day at the desk where Arlene and Jeff work. If you have moved recently or changed your telephone number, please make the changes on your card. Remember, no number, no nookie. School parking. Please park in the appropriate spaces. Berkeley Street is for faculty and staff parking only. If you get a brown sticker on your windshield, it is from our lovely landlord, Mr. Dresher. We rent the parking lot from him, and he takes it upon himself to put these nasty little stickers on our windshield. So, only park where you're supposed to. Okay. This semester's Wednesday night design forum is almost ready and being prepared by Glen Small. The topic is high technology. A variety of speakers will be in from week to week on subjects such as aircraft technology by the Lockheed Corporation, submarine technology, general dynamics, rotational molding of plastics, nuclear fusion, and Glen Small's biomorphic biosphere and his green machine. And here sitting by my side is Professor Glen Small, and we have a couple of questions to ask him on the Wednesday night forums. I'd like to ask how these subjects relate to architecture.
Well, these subjects deal with construction and putting together complex problems. the thinking was that architects are rather narrow in their viewpoint and their exposure, and then to bring in other industries that have much more complex problems and are dealing with a lot of issues, and to see how these industries deal with them, then we might get some spin-offs or trigger our thinking to do greater and better things or something like that.
Good. Do you think that the subject matter is strong enough to generate a widespread response to these forums?
Well, I don't know. My end of the forum thing is derivative out of sort of an alternative night. We used to run forums. Shelly would run a stock one, and then the next week I'd run an alternative one. And I think this year we tried to do a where Shelly ran the thing in the fall, and then I would run something in the spring. I think there's going to be probably more interest than has been shown previously for this alternative type of forum, because it's going to be advertised to the general public and so on. And I think architects basically have some interest in things that are apolitical. Previously, a lot of the alternative nights were politically oriented. These are apolitical, and they deal with construction. And one of the speakers, I think, is going to be Parson. They do missile sites and so on too. And so I think there's going to be a range that will attract a certain amount of the public and architects as well.
Are any of the people that are going to be speaking involved in the design of buildings, or just in the fields that they're talking about?
No, they're going to be. I think U.S. Steel is coming in with a bridge division, and Chevron Oil is coming in with oil rigs off Southern California. They're all buildings, but they're not buildings as we would classify architectural buildings.
Okay, that sounds like it covers.
Mr. Small, would you consider yourself a radical?
I'm just a pleasant little guy trying to do my bit in the world.
You desire to expose and plot staging these forms?
I don't know. The plot is, I really feel that architecture is retarded in its sophistication, and the plot is to try. I think it's already happening to certain extents, where other industries are starting to take over the architectural profession, because the architectural profession isn't thinking progressively in terms of the way it puts things together and how it thinks. So there is a plot on my part to try to expose people to other ways of thinking. Hopefully a positive spin-off. Also, this was suggested by Mort as well, so I will not take full credit for this plot. Mort felt that it would be nice to have some of these other industries around, be exposed to them.
Briggs, will you conclude?
Well, this has been an interview with Professor Glen Small from SCI-Arc, and
I'd like to talk about my green machine.
and I think that we're now going to talk about the green machine.
What about the green machine, Mr. Small?
I understand that the green machine may be receiving funding in the near future.
The green machine is definitely under consideration for funding. This state has talked to us a couple times, and it's going to talk to me this week. But what I'm in reference to, and I want to, in terms of the forum, talking about the green machine, is the final lecture will be in April, the beginning of April, which on the biomorphic biosphere and the green machine. And so I guess Rick's question, whether there is a plot, it's like showing technology and then building up to the ultimate technology, which is my architecture. So
The name of the green machine is derived out of an effort to generate money from this project. Could you confirm or deny?
no, it actually, that was the that's the first time it ever flashed into my mind when you asked that question. The green machine was based on trying to disguise a very technological space frame and cover it with green stuff, so people would not be so rebellious in their attitudes towards it.
Is it true that you plan to kill all the green stuff once the green machine is built?
Probably it'll die automatically.
Well,
maybe it'll take over, hopefully.
We'll be looking forward to your biomorphic biosphere and your green machine and those speakers on Wednesday night. Thank you. Go. For those of you who haven't heard, there is a toll-free number you can call for information on solar heating and cooling. That's 1-800-523-2929. 1-800-523-2929. If they can't answer your question directly, they can refer you to a good source. That's the National Solar Heating and Cooling Information Center.
There will be a meeting today at 4 p.m. Wednesday today in the main space concerning a workday day. We had started a few projects last semester to expand our facilities here at SCI-Arc. The meeting today will be not to discuss the projects, but to organize a workday to complete them. The projects are comprised new cubicles, enlarging the audio-visual facilities, and moving the library to the Penthouse. Also, this Friday at noon, there will be an all-school meeting concerning school issues. Have you got a complaint? Have you got an opinion? Or even occasional irregularity? Well, the SCI-Arc Noonday News staff wants to know. Yes, you can let SCI-Arc know how you feel by filling out the simple form that's being handed out right now. You can take your first step to stardom. Easy. Yes, you too can be following this Panasonic camera in 5 easy lessons. Just slip $10 under the door to Mort, and everything will be all right. Wake up, wake up. This week we're interviewing Ray Kappe, SCI-Arc's director and godfather. Okay. Ray, a couple questions. Several students have heard rumors that the tuition is going to be increased this fall to close to $1,000. Is this true? And if so, what kind of percentage increase is this? Well, that's tuition and student fees combined, for one thing. And I guess the decision was made due to the fact that if we took the $830 that is now the tuition, that's $83 more, which would make it $913, plus the $50 that would be really, if you add 10% of that, would be $55, so that would have been $968. Our feeling, or my feeling, was that this number was really so close to 1,000, and also our parking has been going up. It seemed that it would make more sense to increase the student fees to really like 75, roughly, and that would be 1,000 would then be a number that we probably could hold for a couple of years instead of jacking it up each year. Yeah, and I also felt that I think we've added more seminars than we used to have. In many cases, people are asking for seminars to go on for several times, like low impact technology, which now has 3 seminars, many new ones that we've added, and it seems like our costs are up enough to probably warrant this
slightly larger increase. So I felt that it was, personally, that it's so close that, you know, we'd probably be at 970 or 975, and the extra $25 I didn't think was that big a number.
So really only $25 of the increase to 1,000 will be for student funds. It'll be larger.
25 will go into student funds.
So then that'll be $75 each
75,
student
right,
will pay.
because those are starting to be eaten up by the parking. So
Well, what is the parking at this point? How much of the percentage is?
It takes almost 100% of the money. I think the figure that was given was, I think there's about $800 that we have left at the end of each semester for student fees, and the parking then, I think, will probably be, you know, kicked up again on us, and so we're just trying to be a little bit ahead. And then I thought if there were a few more student fees, I think these could then go towards projects that students may want to have. So you know, if the students as a whole felt they would like it to be 970 or, you know, which would be the 10%, all right. But I think it doesn't make as much sense to just make it a simple 1,000 and hope to hold it. I hope to hold it for 2 years that way then at least.
2 years from this fall.
Yeah, so that we don't have to change.
It's just a jarring kind of figure, $1,000 all of a sudden when tuition was like $800 not long ago.
Once it was 5.
Yeah. Well,
And,
do you feel that
most people still, you know, as a private institution, we're probably still less than half of most private institutions at that number. You know, most schools are up at $4,000 a year now and better.
Well, do you feel, though, that the recent availability of student loans, has that had any impact at all?
I think you just, you know, just the constant increases that we have to deal with are there. And so we've done it that way. But as I say, if the students felt very strongly about that $25, I just thought it'd be simpler that way to
add on,
to go to 1,000 even.
I got a question.
Just a minute. Okay. As a nonprofit organization, I understand that SCI-Arc reports to government regularly a financial statement. Is that true?
Right.
Well, is it possible? Well, what we'd like to do, some of us suggested, instead of taking extra effort and money and time to print up a special statement, could that statement be Xeroxed, simply Xeroxed, and made available to everyone?
Yeah, normally the budget for each year is put into the education development plan anyway, which is really what students want to look at. You know, where are the funds going and for what purposes? That's all you're really interested in.
But, well, there's only so many of the booklets, the books, the EDP, is that right? It seemed like we were thinking about putting it either on here and breaking it down on the news or putting it into the newspaper.
Yeah, that's all right. I don't care. I think, you know.
Well, what would that take? I mean, you mentioning to Arlene to have that done?
Right, that's all. I mean, we just have to get a copy of what the budgeting is to this point in time.
I think putting them out on the front desk is something, an idea that some of the people have in mind, myself included. When did these financial statements prepared? Are they quarterly or?
Well, usually it's fiscal year, which now used to be July. Now it's September, I think.
Oh, so it's once a year then there's a statement.
Right.
Okay. Some people are unclear about the land purchase, the property at Tuna Canyon, and they were wondering, some of us were wondering who exactly put up the money and from which funds the monthly payments are made.
Now, the money originally was going to be put up by a group of faculty, but then the decision was made to borrow the money since one bank was willing to loan us the front-end money. And at a better interest rate, say, than we would have had to pay back to the faculty that were going to, members that were going to finance it. And so that money was borrowed from California Bank, UCB, and the rest of the funds, the rest of the money is then was taken back as a second by the original owners. And that's a 10-year loan. The first year is a 2-year loan. And that's all. And it comes out of the general fund.
Well, the general fund, the way it's broken down, is it broken down on this financial statement? Which monies are spent for the property, which monies are spent for the audiovisual and et cetera?
Right.
I see. Okay, someone asked, how has the land purchase affected the tuition price?
Well, it initially didn't affect the tuition. That's why we didn't, that isn't what is creating the difference in the tuition cost, although, I guess in the long run you could turn around and take it back to that if one wants to do it that way. What we thought originally when we decided that we would do, the land purchase, which again was a student decision of a couple of years ago, that's when it was first brought up. The decision here was made that normally we had decided that we'd have 200 students in the school. Okay, that was going to be our limit. And then we felt as a group that probably by taking in an additional 50, which pays for the land, that we would have enough activity on the land to take the load off the school. I mean, that was the intent. And so in a sense we were saying we're not increasing, anybody's tuition because of that, because the tuition then, we just wouldn't have had as many students probably in the school. So the decision was really to have more students rather than the idea of, the tuition. So those, 50 students make it possible to purchase the land.
And until a number of students, 50 or so, can get onto the property in a way, perhaps from the school, then we will, I guess, continue this 250. Well, there will be crowded conditions, I guess.
The conditions are crowded, but they're always only crowded at the beginning of the semester, as you know, and then by the end of the semester, you're wondering where everybody went. And so I think that's what really encouraged some of the thinking about the increase, too, was the fact that it didn't seem to me that we were that crowded. Not even feeling it this semester like, say, we did in the fall. I think the fall semester you feel the strongest amount of increase in students.
Another question that some people have asked about is the hiring policy here at SCI-Arc and how that process usually goes in hiring instructors. What is the policy?
Well, the policy, I think, that we've used, and what we used, say, last summer when we were hiring, was to, normally people come in and are interviewed by me first. Okay, they come in, we talk, they show me what they've done, they give me their resume. And what I do is if there are people who I don't think are at all in tune with what SCI-Arc is about, I don't even bring them before the student body and the faculty. But then among those that I do interview, I try to choose those who I feel are the best, and quite often they're diverse. They're not meant to be of one type. And then, as we did last summer, there was a student group and a faculty group that interviewed those who were potentially, ready for hire. Now, this year, and usually what happens is these are people who come, either are living in the West or are coming from the East or from Europe to LA, and we usually pick our faculty right here because they're usually coming to us. This year, next month, I plan to go back to the East. I have to go back for a couple of AIA national meetings that I'm involved with, and I wanted to hope to interview some people from the East at that time,
for more faculty positions?
If they're, as a possibility. Because the faculty positions that we're looking at for the fall will probably be in third-year graduate, because that's a group that's coming through at this time.
So you plan on building the graduate program up more than what it is?
Well, we have to go, it'll be 75 people roughly in the graduate program, approximately 25 each year in the other, those who have other degrees, that graduate program. And so 25 each year makes 75. We don't have any faculty now for that group.
Third year.
Right.
Well, one of the...
so there's that. So we'll probably need some faculty at that level. The other question that we have is, by having that group at 75, and we're getting requests from schools like San Luis Obispo, Cal Poly, and USC, some of their students who want to transfer in at the fifth-year level here, which is something I have to also evaluate, and I think the school has to evaluate as a whole, because it would mean that if we allow that transferring in, it means we would be diminishing probably some first-year students who would come into the normal program on a...
Then you would cut back on some.
We'd have to cut back somewhere, because I would... And
we can only hold so many people.
Hold so many people, right. And my feeling was that possibly we could have one class composed of graduates from other schools. In other words, 15 students who would then join with our people and fourth-year students, and maybe get a mix that might make it a little more interesting at the fifth year. But if the school as a whole, and the students who I have interviewed who have been interested in coming in this way, I have said, I haven't given them any answers until we would decide as a school what we would do. And I think those are some of the things that are going to be taken up in meetings that will be taking place probably in the next month or so.
Well, during the summer, I remember I sat in on when some of the new instructors this semester were interviewed. There were questions, not a lot of students participated for one thing. I think we were outnumbered by the faculty as it was. And then, isn't it true that just about except for one person, all of the people interviewed at that time were accepted into the school?
You mean were hired?
Were hired by...
No, there was 1, 2, 3. I think there were about 4 of those were not hired.
Yeah, because I remember there was some efforts to try and get responses to the interviews that we did at that time, and it was minimal from students. And that was a hard time during the summer, too, anyway.
But it'll always end up in the summer unless we can get to a time when people will, pay their tuition early so that we have a sense of how many students are going to be there and where they're going to be for sure. And that's why it's always difficult to know, exactly what's happening. This time, for instance, just the thing I was just talking about, okay, if we make the decisions now, to, one, either have another class of students from outside, or we already know that we're going to need some graduate faculty. So those faculty members could already be interviewed earlier. They could be interviewed during the spring semester.
Here at school?
Here at school. That would probably be possible. But normally it ends up that we're looking at everything right at the end, switching our numbers and so forth as we come into the last day. This year we should be able to do it a little bit ahead of time if possible. But I appreciate, the idea that summer is a bad time to do these kinds of things because that's when fewer people are around. However, we did have 100 students this summer, so there was a large number of students if they were interested. Right. And really, the students that were primarily there, as you remember, were all the independent students. Yeah, right. And then there wasn't too much input from them. And then there were some questions by some of the faculty, are there other people available, and there was some searching done, and nothing came of that, and we went ahead with the decisions that I think most people were in agreement with.
Well, back to the financial thing, how much is the school dependent on these late fees that we've been paying? I know we've been paying, I think it's considerable, I guess, the amount of late fees that people have been paying because they can't get all the fees right at once.
The late fee is a combination is set up for a combination of reasons, like any interest rate or any other kind of payment like that institutions or loan companies have. One, primarily it's to encourage payment on time, which we don't get. Okay, right. I mean, we get about maybe half to 2/3 of our students paying on time, and that's the only way one is able to really make decisions if you know how many students are coming. Okay, so that's one reason. Okay, that's one reason for the late fee. Then. There's a lot of time spent by Arlene or Sherry or whoever, trying to get the money from the people once they go through, they don't pay on time. And it seemed to us that it was fair to the students who do pay on time to have additional funds paid by those who don't to offset some of the costs that are going in that area, and also a lot of the time that's going there that isn't being spent in other things.
Well, it seems like, I've been here a couple years myself, and it seems like that it's, like you say, it's almost half of the people really can't get the total money up, especially now it's going to go up to 1,000. It's going to be even harder to get the total money up in one lump sum. It seems like there shouldn't be, there could be some kind of structure that could be built into the payment of tuition. Obviously, you need to know. There's a need to know, but
yeah, when we first started, we were very, very loose. You know, when in the beginning, actually, the philosophy of the school was to really be extremely, you know, easy in this particular area, and anyone could arrange any kind of payment plan or anything they wanted. You know, they could pay monthly, they could pay on time, no charges, no nothing. And that year, by the time spring was ending, we were like $25,000 in arrears in terms of payment, and it became very heavy, and a lot of people who became really, really tough. Then when we instituted this this kind of a way of operating, we cut that way down, and by the same time the following year we were down to maybe $2,000, $1,500 that were still in outstanding payments. Now, the only thing it tells you is that, again, it's sort of that same thing, that people, unless you set up some kind of a penalty, they don't really do it on an honor system. If everybody operated on the honor system and did it very nicely, then there would be no problem. But even when people set up payment schedules with Arlene, they don't meet those payment schedules. So then she has to spend a lot of time calling and going after them and stopping them in the halls and all those kinds of things. So I think, Terry, it really, from my standpoint, we go back to lots of more open and progressive and what I think are better systems if people would really meet their responsibilities, but they haven't, and so each time they're not met, it seems like, I guess, things become more stringent. And I'm not really strongly in favor of that. I would rather have a looser system, but it doesn't work. It's been proven to me that it doesn't work very well.
Well, I would like to think that maybe we could address this problem even later, because there are lots of us that can't, and I'm sure this fall, $1,000 is going to be pretty hard. But again, I think there's some of us who would like to get into this with you later. But one last question. Some of us thought it would be very helpful this semester if the school, I mean that Ann or whoever, could schedule crits this semester so other instructors can jury other studios. I think this last semester there were 3 or even 4 studios presenting at the same time, and a lot of us couldn't get around to the other studios. And it seemed like it would also give an opportunity to get some other input from other instructors.
Right. Well, our normal process used to be to take the last week and schedule the last week out and then have what we used to call all school crits. I think that was kind of done away with last year because of the numbers. It became just too difficult, and besides, most of the students don't really stay around for other people's crits, and a lot of the instructors don't really hang in there. But I think this year, say going into our last week of this semester, if people again will meet their deadlines, we can start on Monday and either run the full week or run Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and hope that there's enough. There's going to be some doubling up on even on those 3 days, because otherwise it means we have to go 2 weeks into it or take a full last week every day, and that would mean students would have to come in on work days, which they don't usually do. And so the student doesn't gain anything by it any more than the other system. So I think we can think about it, and if there are if we need 2 weeks, I guess maybe that's what we'll do. But most students are usually working up right up to the last minute, as you know, and because of that, everybody wants to present on Friday. And then some people want to present even after that last Friday. And I think it would be a lot nicer if we could do it.
Well, it seems like if instructors would give deadlines that were a little bit more reasonable, so that the deadline would be not for the very last day of school, but for the week before. so that then that final week would be crits. And
Well, that's
I believe one of the studios had crits the 9th, and just extended way on into the next semester, this semester.
I know. But even in that, we could establish those, and I think it's a little easier in certain years to do that more than it is as you get up into the third and fourth and fifth year. It seems like students there are, dragging their projects longer. But I think, like we've done before, I think first year can usually be ready by the first of the week. Second year can possibly, although they have 3 short problems, and they're kind of pushing usually at the end. It seems like in third year and like graduate 2 and so forth, those are always almost impossible to finish in 15 weeks, and that's why they're always running into the Christmas. But I think they have to, either we have to...
That puts a real burden on the students, too, though, because their holidays are
which I didn't want to do in my studio, and I don't believe in, but it means that I'm not sure that you can get... we either have to decide that we don't want the product that we've been getting, which I think takes that extra time. Like in my studio, we've decided that, okay, we're going to try to set up the problem so that they're finished on a 5-week basis. So at the end of the 10th week, they're now going into, at that time, they're moving into the finished product. In other words, that's all presentation, like 4 or 5 weeks to present, because it takes about that long if you're going to do a very well-finished model and some good drawings and really get your project done properly. So it almost means everybody has to think in terms of 10-week problems and give 5 weeks for the completion, if you were looking at that kind of product. Now, in some classes,
it's not required. But for those that did happen where they had to work over the holidays, it just, to a lot of people, is very unhappy about it.
I don't disagree. I would be too. I'm personally opposed to it, and last year we did have a agreement among the faculty that studios would end on the last day of the semester and that there wouldn't be any more of this carryover. But that's the way, rules are made to be broken. But if the students are objecting strongly, then I think that has to go back to the instructor, and the instructor has to take that and then has to either demand more work more quickly or else let up on the product. I don't know, one way or the other.
All right. I think that'll more than handle this interview for this week. And we'll be concluding with a commercial from our sponsor, Ray's Cafe next door, who offers students a 10% discount on all meals. And Ray says the cafe will be open for our convenience Monday, Wednesday, and Friday until 5 p.m. Ray says he's looking forward to having a beer license soon, and if this happens, he plans to have the patio open between the school and his store so we can promptly get loaded. So, thank you.
We would like to welcome Arnie Stalk back as our guest newscaster today. How does it feel to be unemployed, Arnie?
Funny, Terry. You get an Oreo cookie for that one. Good day. The SCI-Arc Noonday News is brought to you by Ray's Cafe at Greasy Pit next door. No relation to you-know-who, although he does have some points in it. And now for the news. We have a new person handling financial assistance for SCI-Arc. The person to see for financial information is Serena Mesnick. Jewish? Jeff has transformed into a transvestite. Short, blonde-haired lady. Seriously, folks. Jeff, clear. No. Jeff has left SCI-Arc looking for Mr. Goodbar. I'm keeping these in order. This is our 40th take, and I don't want to screw it up. For those of you who are desiring information on financial assistance, our diligent, hardworking, hard-nosed, I'm not going to say long-nosed again, school staff has assembled a packet of information forms, carbon paper, and the LA Times. It's supposed to be funny. This packet is designed to consolidate all the information SCI-Arc has on available financial assistance. Here's the packet. If you are in need of money, and who isn't, and all the things you can buy with it, Oh, no, not Sandra. See, I already forget a woman's name in 5 minutes. See Serena during routine office hours at the front desk. She is sitting where Jeff used to, and Jeff is still there. Nobody understands my humor. The Southern California Architectural School Student Council, or SCASS for short, is alive and living in Pacoima. I didn't think AIE knew Pacoima existed. It also, let's see, it is also the ASC-AIA Association Student Chapter's AIA organization, representing architectural design schools in Southern California, including SCI-Arc. They let us join. The SCASS Council meeting this Saturday is at the Gamble House in Pasadena, done by the prominent architects Green and Green. The Gamble House is worth seeing if you haven't already. Bring your hammers and nails because it's falling apart. And if you would like to meet the other, no nails, pegs. If you'd like to meet the other architectural student in Southern California, the SCASS Council will meet at 10 a.m. this Saturday, February 4th. The address is 4 Westmoreland Place, Pasadena, California. That's 4 Westmoreland Place, Pasadena, California. If you have any questions, I'll answer them now. No? Good. See you there. It's worse every week, folks. Well, I'm sure most of us are either in spring semester or will be shortly starting soon. Good English. Here's what's happening so far. The 1978 California Regional meeting will be held the 18th and 19th February at the Southern California Institute of Architecture, right here, SCI-Arc, 1800 Berkeley Street, Santa Monica, California. So remember, folks, y'all come out and visit Uncle Hal. Steve Lombardi is your host. Big deal. For SCI-Arc students who are interested, contact Steve. He needs a lot of help anyway. Or leave a message in his box. You can leave it where he put his mail, too. The SCI-Arc Noonday News announces this is the last one. What is this crap? Oh, yeah. This is the thing about the boring questions with Ray. Oh, here we go. Terry. Jesus. The SCI-Arc news staff, the news staff has received some anonymous questions regarding last week's interview with Ray Kappe. See, the questions are out of order again. Can't we put more emphasis on finding grants for school projects? What time do you get home at night? Oh, this is rank. How come we aren't using the general funds for the expensive student parking lot? Dresher's out there with a little. Does Shelly snore? Does Shelly sleep? Energies, the SCI-Arc newspaper, needs a staff. It needs a new staff. No. It needs an advertising person to sell ads, writers, and people with ideas for articles, graphic artists and a layout person, and paste-up person, and editor to take over in the coming issues because Ellen's leaving for Europe. Which brings us to the European trip. Plans are underway for the 1978 summer semesters abroad. Students will receive full credit for a 10 to 12 week session of study and travel. A deposit of $100 is due today. So you have plenty of time to get your check and your money together. Make the check payable to SCI-Arc or Ray Kappe, same thing, as usual, and pay at the front desk. Be sure to tell Arlene that it is for the European trip, and be sure to bring your rows because we're rowing across the ocean. Bon voyage.
That's oars, not rows.
Thanks, God. No, you're God. You're Terry. Thank you. SCI-Arc Noonday News announces the Endurance Award for those classes that are the most difficult to endure. We would like to kick off this award program by presenting last year's annual award, belatedly to Shelly Kappe's Evolution of the Modern Movement, or better known as How to Cure Insomnia. To Shelly for maintaining consistency. To the students for being there to pass the attendance sheet around and for Mort for taking the microphone away from Shelly at 12:30. This month's winner is Terry Glassman's Humanistic Design Seminar, or Jaws Gets Revenge on Discipled Students. To Terry, for extensive preparation to the last detail and bringing in the shrinks. To the students for sitting still without fidgeting. You always see people in Terry's class by 10 o'clock, they don't know what to do with themselves. Congratulations to everyone. Thank you.
The April issue of LA Architect will open its pages to SCI-Arc. The issue is a first for both SCI-Arc and for LA Architect, as the piece is entirely student SCI-Arc written. A controversy is brewing because the article is actually a replica of SCI-Arc in a game board form. Highlights include, first, enormous tuition upon entering, no-sleep model sessions, psychodrama crits, and finally, looking forward to dropping out or unemployment after graduation.
Go ahead.
Okay. Last semester, as many of you know, we worked on a proposal to expand the cubicle system for this semester when we have more students who would need that kind of space to work in. As you know, we didn't get completely done with the project, and we're still trying to get done with the project. I have some floor plans that were given to me, and I'm willing to work on it, and I'd like a few other people who would be interested in helping with this project to contact me during the week, and perhaps we can get together, plan the cubes, and then we can get on with ordering the material. Hopefully we will, probably by the end of the semester, get the pipe structure going up, and we'd like to construct the floors. So contact me during the week. I'd appreciate it. No number. Just my name is Jackie. Is that bad?
Are mountains of books, unmade models due, and untyped papers getting you down? Do what millions have done by Evelyn Wood's speed-eating course. Yes, with just 5 tabs a day, guaranteed, no blackouts, no shaking hands, no crashing. Yes, before the course I was slow, lethargic, and uninterested. But through the course I've learned, after a hit, to throw models together. To zoom through papers and stare at blank walls for hours on end. Now I can snap at my friends, whereas before I was quiet and uninhibited. Also, I've lost pounds of unwanted fat because I've stopped eating. By outside pressures, I'm no longer hassled by outside pressures because I can't remember anything. Nor am I ever lonely because I have black shadows following me wherever I go.